Hi YouTube, Bob Main here from the Handgun World Show. Why do I carry a gun? Because I can't carry a cop. Thanks for watching this video. I want to talk about gun safety. As you can see here, I've got my Glock 19. And I want to cover the 4 rules of gun safety. In some of my other videos, I did a few things that violated a couple of those rules. And I am certainly about safe gun ownership, safe gun handling, and let's face it, I love the shooting sports, and if we're not safe about our gun handling in the shooting sports, the anti-gunners are going to have their way with us, and they're going to be able to defeat a lot of what we're fighting for. So this is, for some of you who are new, I want to review the 4 rules of gun safety, and I actually want to talk about I want to try to help you visualize what they mean by the 4 rules of gun safety. Some of you who have been doing this a long time, this might not be the video for you. But let's talk about some things. First of all, the 4 rules of gun safety are: all guns are loaded. Alright? The second one, that's the first one. The second one is never let the muzzle point in any direction or point to anything that you don't want to destroy. Number 3 is keep your finger off of the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And number 4, be aware of your target and what's beyond it, and never shoot at anything unless you know exactly what is beyond that target. So those are the 4 rules. Let's start with number 1. This is my Glock 19. As you can see, I'm starting with the action open. So rule number 1, all guns are loaded. Now, what do they mean by that? Well, it means just that. Treat it as if all guns are loaded. Even though this is an unloaded gun, and I'll show you. It's with the action is open. Let's do a chamber check. I like to stick my finger in there just to make sure that there's no round in there that maybe I can't see. And it is unloaded. Magazine is unloaded. Okay, nothing in the magazine. And I will even go ahead and pull the trigger and let you know this is an empty gun. But I still need to treat this as if it's loaded. Because if you always treat a gun as if it's loaded, if you do have an accidental discharge, then obviously if you're keeping that muzzle pointed in the right direction and not at something that you do not wish to destroy, it won't be quite so bad. So, you know, I've always wondered why you hear these stories about people that shoot themselves when they're cleaning their gun. Right? You heard of that? They got shot because they were cleaning their gun. Scratch my head over that. I don't get it. They obviously violated rule number 1 that all guns are loaded. And if they would have checked, triple checked, quadruple checked to make sure there was no round in the chamber when you're cleaning this thing, it isn't going to go off. So they violated rule number 1. It's not the gun's fault that it fired a shot. Guns do what they're supposed to do. When you pull that trigger, they're supposed to fire if the round is in there. They do what they're supposed to do. It's up to you to make sure there's nothing in that chamber, especially when you're cleaning it and when you're handling it. Now, number 2, rule number 2, never let the muzzle cover anything that you don't want to destroy or shoot. What they mean by that is the muzzle of the gun, make sure it's not pointing at anything you don't want to shoot, ever. Now, for purposes of safety, I'm not going to do it. But don't wave. In fact, I'll go ahead, I'll open it, make sure it's safe. So bear with me. I know I might violate a little safety here, but I'm illustrating a point. The gun is safe, nothing's in it. Don't wave your hand in front of the muzzle. Don't do that. Don't wave the muzzle in front of your leg, in front of your body, in front of any other person. Don't point the muzzle of this gun at something that you don't wish to shoot. Plain and simple. That's key. Now, rule number 3, keeping your finger off the trigger. This is the source of most gun accidents, is fingers on the trigger when they're not supposed to. Look at my index finger. My index finger is right here along the side of the frame. I've trained myself to always have my finger there unless I'm ready to shoot something. When I holster the gun, that's where my finger is. Okay? My finger is always right here when I holster. Alright? The other thing, that whenever I am finished shooting, whenever I'm done and I fired the last round, this is probably going to be at slide lock reload. Immediately my finger comes out of the trigger guard and on the side of the weapon. Okay? If I reload, if I end up putting a fresh magazine in, you see where my index finger is? The whole time I'm reloading, my finger is right here on the side of the gun. My finger is not in the trigger guard when I'm reloading. My finger is right here. Train that. I'll give you a little secret. For a long time I had a piece of skateboard tape right here, which told me where I had to put my finger, so it was rough and I could feel it. And I always indexed that skateboard tape. For about 3 years I shot that way to make sure that that's where my index finger, my trigger finger was when I was reloading or holstering or anything. After a while muscle memory took over and now I find myself looking for that skateboard tape. I took the skateboard tape off because I didn't want it to rub on the inside of the holster. But that helped me for a long time, so you might want to think about that. And be sure of your target. You know, let's face it, when you fire, you're going to do more missing than you will hitting. I'm sorry, I know you might think you're a really good shot, but let's face it, under stress, everything, we start to have brain fades under stress. You are going to miss. There's an FBI study that says that only about 20% of rounds actually hit their target in a real self-defense shooting. Now, the point they're trying to make, I don't want to get into numbers and be a stickler on the numbers. That may vary a little bit depending on who you talk to. You're going to do a lot of missing. So if you're going to be missing your targets, think about what is beyond your target. That's why rule number 4 is be sure of your target, be sure you know what it is, and be sure you know what's beyond your target so that your bullets don't end up hitting an innocent person or an innocent bystander. And as you've heard in my podcasts, I'm more concerned about the missed shots than I am about overpenetration. That's a whole different video. I'll talk about overpenetration some other time. But more missing is done than hitting. So be more worried about where your bullets are going to go. All right? So there are some tips. All guns are loaded. Number 1, never let the muzzle cover anything that you do not wish to shoot. And basically that means no hands, no arms, no legs, no bodies, no nothing in front of that muzzle unless you want to shoot it. Keep your keep your finger off of the trigger, right there on the side of the frame, and be sure of your target and you know where it is, okay? And especially when you're reholstering. Okay, when you get done firing, for example, let's say you're in competition shooting. After you fired the last round and you're done shooting, the range officer is going to ask you to show them a safe and clear weapon. So you open it up so it's a slide lock, show them that it's safe. They'll look at the chamber, they'll ask you to pull the trigger, and then they will ask you to reholster the gun like that. Now, it's even tough to holster the weapon without bringing it close to your body. And even when you draw the weapon, it's hard to draw it without bringing it close to your body. That's why fingers off the trigger. And as Jeff Cooper says, the reason there's 4 rules is in case you violate one of the rules of safety. If you're obeying the other 3, everything's going to be okay. So I hope that this has helped a little bit. I hope it's cleared up and answered some of my critics that said that some of my other videos I wasn't observing all the safety rules. I wanted to do this video, and I want to say shoot straight, shoot safe, and thanks for watching.